I don't remember the first time I felt invisible. Because when something has been with you your whole life, it doesn't arrive like a moment. It settles in quietly. It becomes normal. I grew up being the person people looked past, not ignored on purpose, not hated, just unnoticed. At family gatherings, conversations flowed around me like I wasn't there at school. Teachers remembered my name only when they had to at work. My ideas were accepted, but my presence was optional. I was useful, but I wasn't seen. And that distinction shaped everything. When you're invisible long enough, you stop asking questions. You don't ask why your voice isn't heard. You don't ask why others get opportunities. You don't ask why your effort never seems to count. You assume the problem is you, so you adapt. You become agreeable, reliable, quiet. You learn how to shrink without disappearing completely. And the worst part, people start liking you for it. I became the person everyone trusted, but no one noticed. The one who fixed problems quietly. The one who stayed late without being asked. The one who said it's fine, even when it wasn't. I told myself I was being mature, that recognition wasn't important, that hard work would speak for itself, but deep down, I was waiting for someone to look at me and say, "I see you." They never did. There were moments when the invisibility hurt more than rejection ever could. Rejection, at least, acknowledges your existence. Invisibility erases it. I watched promotions go to louder people. I watched credit land in the wrong hands. I watched friendships form without me, even when I was standing right there. And every time I told myself the same lie, one day they'll notice. Years passed. They didn't. Single quotes T. The strange thing about being invisible is that no one believes you when you talk about it, because on the outside, everything looks fine. You have a job, you have people around you, you function. So when you feel empty, unrecognized, unseen, it feels selfish to complain. You start gaslighting yourself. Maybe I'm asking for too much. Maybe this is just how life works. Maybe I should be grateful. Grateful for what? For existing quietly. I remember a moment that should have mattered, a project I carried from start to finish. Late nights, missed weekends, real sacrifice. The final presentation went well. Everyone applauded. My manager thanked the team by name. My name wasn't mentioned. I stood there clapping with everyone else, smiling, pretending it didn't sting. That night, I stared at the ceiling longer than usual, and something inside me shifted. Not anger, exhaustion. It wasn't just work, it was everywhere. Friends talked over me, family dismissed my opinions, strangers assumed I had nothing important to say, and slowly, I started agreeing with them. I stopped sharing ideas unless asked, stopped expressing opinions unless safe, stopped showing ambition unless necessary. I learned how to blend into the background perfectly, so well that even I forgot who I was supposed to be. There's a quiet loneliness that comes with invisibility, not the kind where you're physically alone, the kind where you're surrounded by people but feel completely absent. You start wondering if something is fundamentally wrong with you, if you were born missing whatever it is. That makes people matter. Charisma, confidence, presence. I thought maybe I just didn't have it. The breaking point didn't come from humiliation, it came from a question. Someone asked me casually without malice, "So, what do you really want?" I didn't know how to answer, not because I had too many dreams, because I had buried them so deeply, I couldn't feel them anymore. That scared me more than being invisible that night. I realized something painful. Invisibility wasn't just something others were doing to me, I was participating in it. I had been making myself small for so long that people simply followed my lead, and for the first time, I didn't feel sad, I felt responsible. I didn't decide to change my life that night, not yet, but a seed was planted, a dangerous one. What if nothing changes because I never force it to? What if this is my life forever? Quiet, useful, unseen. That thought followed me everywhere, and eventually, cornered me. The decision that changed everything didn't come from confidence, it came from fear. Fear of reaching the end of my life and realizing no one ever truly knew me. Fear of disappearing without ever arriving. Fear of staying invisible forever. And once that fear became louder than my comfort, I knew something had to break, either my silence or me. The idea didn't arrive like motivation. It arrived like discomfort, a constant pressure in my chest that wouldn't go away. I could still function, still smile, still do what was expected, but something felt wrong in a way I couldn't ignore anymore. It wasn't sadness, it was the realization that I had been living a version of life that required me to disappear. Once that thought takes root, it changes how you see everything. Every conversation feels different. Every silence feels different. Every silence feels heavier. Every time you hold back, you feel it. I started noticing how often I swallowed words, not because I didn't have something to say, but because I had trained myself not to matter. And the hardest part was admitting that no one had forced me into that role. I had chosen it. Over and over again. At first, I tried small changes, safe ones. I spoke up in meetings when I normally wouldn't. I shared opinions instead of nodding. I disagreed politely. Nothing dramatic happened. No one applauded, no one shut me down. They just adjusted, and that scared me because it meant the prison I thought I was trapped in didn't have locked doors. It had habits, but small changes weren't enough. they only highlighted how deep the pattern ran. I realized invisibility wasn't about volume, it was about ownership. I had spent my life waiting for permission to exist fully, permission that was never coming. The decision came on an ordinary day. No dramatic music. No turning point montage. Just a moment where I caught myself staying silent again. Someone took credit for an idea that was mine. Everyone nodded. I felt the familiar tightening in my throat. The old script kicked in. It's not worth it. Don't cause tension. Let it go. And then something new happened. I didn't feel calm. I felt ashamed or shamed that I was about to disappear again. That was the moment. Not the moment. I spoke up the moment I realized that staying silent felt worse than the consequences of speaking. That's when fear changed sides. For most of my life, I was afraid of being seen. Now I was afraid of remaining invisible. The decision wasn't loud, it wasn't even public, it was internal. I've decided that from that moment on, I would no longer protect other people's comfort at the cost of my own existence. That decision felt like betrayal. Not to them. To the version of me they were used to. The agreeable one, the quiet one, the reliable background character. I knew that version would have to die, and death, even symbolic, is never clean. The first few times I asserted myself, it felt wrong. My voice shook. My heart raced. My hands felt cold. I wasn't confident, I was terrified, but I spoke anyway. People noticed, not always positively. Some looked surprised, some looked annoyed, some laughed it off. You're being different lately. They meant it casually, but I heard the warning. Underneath different was uncomfortable. Resistance didn't come as confrontation, it came as subtle shifts, less inclusion, shorter responses, side glances. I wasn't invisible anymore, but I wasn't welcome either, and that hurt in a new way. There's a stage in transformation no one prepares you for. When you're no longer who you were, but you're not yet who you're becoming. That space is lonely. The old connections don't fit anymore. The new ones haven't formed yet. You start wondering if you made a mistake. I question myself constantly. Was I being selfish? Was I overreacting? Was I burning bridges unnecessarily? The temptation to go back was strong. Silence was comfortable, familiar, safe, but once you see yourself clearly, you can't unsee it, and I had seen myself shrinking for the last time. The decision demanded consistency, not just bold moments daily. Ones. Saying no, holding boundaries, choosing discomfort over invisibility. It was exhausting, not physically, emotionally, because every choice went against years of conditioning. I lost things, not all at once. Quietly. Some friendships faded. Some opportunities disappeared. Some people stopped reaching out. They didn't say why. They didn't have to. No longer fit the role they needed me to play. And for a while I panicked because the old fear returned. What if this leaves me with nothing? But then I realized something important. I had already been living with nothing. No voice, no presence, no self-respect. I just hadn't named it. The more I honored myself, the more obvious the contrast became. People treated me differently. Not better. Differently. Some tested my boundaries. Some ignored them. Some respected them immediately. That told me everything. The most surprising change wasn't external. It was internal. I started trusting myself, not because I always said the right thing, but because I said the honest thing. Said trust was new. Fragile. Powerful for the first time. My actions matched my thoughts. And that alignment created a quiet confidence I had never known. I didn't need to prove myself, needed to stop betraying myself. There were setbacks, moments where I stayed silent. Again, moments where I retreated. But the difference was awareness. I noticed. And I corrected. Progress wasn't linear, but it was real. The decision didn't make me louder. It made me clearer. I stopped filling space unnecessarily. They spoke when it mattered. And when I did, people listened. Not because I demanded attention, but because I respected my own voice. Slowly, the world responded. Not with applause. With recalibration. People adjusted to who I was becoming. Some left, some stayed, some leaned in. And for the first time, that felt okay. The invisible version of me had, but trying to be accepted. This version was choosing alignment, and alignment is magnetic. Even when it costs you something. I wasn't special. I wasn't fearless. That was tired of disappearing. And that turned out to be enough. By the end of that year, my life looked different, not dramatically, but fundamentally. I had fewer people around me, but more honesty. Fewer opportunities, but more direction. Less approval, but more peace. The decision changed everything. Not because it made me visible overnight, but because it made me present. And presence is where everything begins. Change doesn't announce itself, it creeps in quietly, disguised as consistency. For a long time, nothing dramatic happened after my decision. No sudden success, no public recognition, no moment where people stood up and said, "We see you now." And that almost broke me, because when you finally choose yourself, you secretly hope the world will respond immediately. It rarely does. What changed first wasn't how others treated me. It was how I walked into rooms. I didn't rush to fill silence. anymore. I didn't soften my words to make them easier to digest. I didn't shrink to fit expectations that were never meant for me. That I took up space. Not loudly, not aggressively, not aggressively. Something strange happens when you stop chasing visibility. You become undeniable. At work, people began pausing when I spoke, not because I demanded attention, but because my words carried weight. They came from clarity, from experience. From self-respect. The same people who once overlooked me started asking questions. What do you think? How would you handle this? Can you help with that? At first it felt surreal, almost suspicious. I had spent so long unseen that recognition felt like a trick. But this time, it wasn't accidental. It was earned. The biggest shift came when I stopped over-explaining myself. Invisible people explained much. They justify their presence. They apologize for existing. They try to earn space instead of claiming it. I stopped doing that. And suddenly, I didn't need permission anymore. Relationships changed. Some people couldn't adjust. They preferred the version of me. The one who listened more than spoke. The one who agreed. The one who stayed when I didn't. They pulled away. And that hurt. But it also clarified something important. Those relationships were built on imbalance, not connection. Other relationships deepened. Conversations became real. Boundaries were respected. Mutuality replaced obligation. For the first time, I wasn't just present, I was valued. There was one moment that stayed with me. A meeting, a crowded room. A decision on the table. Someone interrupted me mid-sentence. The old version of me would have gone silent this time. I didn't. I paused. Waited, then calmly continued exactly where I left off. No apology. No aggression. Just presence. The room adjusted. That's when I understood something powerful. Visibility isn't taken, it's assumed. The real reward of the decision wasn't recognition. It was peace. The kind that comes from knowing you didn't abandon yourself. Today I slept better, thought clearer, moved with intention. I stopped rehearsing conversations in my head, stopped regretting what I didn't say, stopped wondering who I had to be. I already knew. Years passed, and somewhere along the way, invisibility stopped being part of my identity. Not because everyone knew my name, but because I knew my worth. People began describing me differently. Grounded, confident, strong presence. I smiled when I heard those words because they had always been there. I had just been hiding them. The most ironic part, the moment people finally saw me, I didn't need them to anymore. Their recognition was no longer fuel, it was confirmation. I sometimes think about the version of me who stayed quiet for so long. Not with anger, with compassion. He did the best he could with what he knew, but he confused survival with living. And once you know the difference, you can't go back. If there's one thing I learned, it's this. You don't become visible by shouting. You become visible by standing still in who you are. By choosing discomfort over disappearance. By choosing truth over approval. By choosing presence over peacekeeping. That one decision didn't change my life overnight, it changed my direction. That direction is everything. If you feel invisible, not ignored, not rejected, just unseen, ask yourself one question. Where are you still choosing silence to stay safe? Because the world doesn't discover you, you introduce yourself. And sometimes, all it takes is one decision to finally arrive.